Hello class 7. I hope you all are taking good care of yourself at your home. As you all know, you must have got your timetable. Your exams are commencing from 14th of December. And this time your exams will be taken as written. You have to give your written exam. This time do not take help from anywhere. You have to do yourself. This is the perfect time when you can judge yourself. Where are you? Actually, where are you? Okay? The chapters which were covered during these assignments from 15 to 25, they will be your syllabus. Like in history civics, 15th and 16th assignments were from civics. Okay, the Constitution of India. 17, 18 and 19. In all these assignments were based on the Delhi Sultanate. Okay, 17, 18 and 19, it means the Delhi Sultanate. This chapter will come. 20, 21 and 22 assignments were from the Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdoms. This will be coming. 23rd and 24th assignments were from the directive principles of state policy. The syllabus for your history exam, history or civics exams: the Constitution of India, lesson number 1, civics; the directive principles of state policy, lesson number 2 from civics; lesson number 3, the Delhi Sultanate; and lesson number 5, the Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdoms. These 4 chapters will be coming in your second term exam. We talked about your syllabus. Now let's talk about your assignments. You have to send assignments from 1st to 25th. Okay, all the assignments from 1st to 25th you have to send, because you will be given marks out of 25. You will get marks out of 25 separately. 40 marks will be of written exam and 25 marks for assignments. Okay. Today, rather than starting new chapter, as you all know, we completed lesson number 2 in civics last week. We had to start new chapter. Rather than starting new chapter, let's revise the chapters which we did after half yearly exams. Okay, the Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdom and the directive principles of state policy. Lesson number 5, the Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdom revision. In first line only, it is given that this integration of the Sultanate of Delhi provided an opportunity. A number of kingdoms got the chance of rising. Okay, and Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdom were the 2 kingdoms who arose in that time. Here in book, many students, they were confused. See, here in first question only, that disintegration of Delhi Sultanate provided an opportunity for the rise of a number of kingdoms in the south. Mentioned only 2, and 2 were Bahmani and Vijayanagar kingdoms. Vijayanagar kingdom was founded by 2 brothers, Harihar and Bukka Rai, in 1336 AD near river Tungabhadra. After Harihar, Bukka Rai was made the king of Vijayanagar kingdom. Krishna Dev Rai, he was a shrewd statesman. Among all the rulers of Vijayanagar kingdoms, Krishna Dev Rai, he was the greatest. Okay, he was the greatest. Now the meaning of coronation, the ceremony of crowning, the ceremony of crowning. Okay, crowning. The ceremony of crowning a sovereign or a sovereign's consort, that is called coronation, crowning. Okay. When was the Battle of Talikot fought? In 1565 AD. 1565 AD, between whom? The Vijayanagar and Bahmani kingdoms. Bahmani kingdom, it was Muslim ruling kingdom. Okay. Vijayanagar kingdom was Hindu ruling kingdom, while Bahmani Muslim ruling kingdom, and they used to fight with each other. The land between these two rivers were fertile. That's why both the kingdoms wanted to conquer this land. Number two, both of them wanted to have Golconda, a place where diamond mines were located. Both the kingdoms wanted to control the whole peninsula. Peninsula, a land which is surrounded three sides by water and one side by connected with land, mainland. That is called peninsula. Okay. The lower part of India, this is called what? Peninsula. Okay. Three sides by water and one side by connected with mainland. Okay. Now the meaning of monogamy and polygamy. Okay. Monogamy, the practice of marrying to one person at a time, one person only. While polygamy, the practice of having more than one wife or husband at the same time, that is called polygamy. Okay. Now administration under the Vijayanagar rulers, the king maintained a splendid court or excellent court, which was attended by the nobles, priests, men of learning, astrologers and musicians. The empire was divided into Kattam or district. Vijayanagar kingdom was divided into Kattams. The tehsils comprised a group of villages. A group of villages made what? Tehsils. Uttar Pradesh and Deccan show marked traces of Chalukyan style, whereas their temples in the south show Chola and Pandya influence. Mandapas, the Vijayanagar temples are large structure with spacious mandapas and gopurams. Mandapas, this you can see here, a pillared hall of porch. See, a pillared hall of porch fronting a Hindu temple. This is temple and this is pillared hall. This is called what? Mandapas. And Gopuram, entrance of Hindu temple. Here only this is given, Gopuram, entrance, gate of the Hindu temple, that is called Gopuram. Now literature, the kings of Vijayanagar kingdom encouraged literature in Sanskrit, Telugu, Kannada and Malayalam. Sayama and Madhava, the notable Sanskrit scholars, flourished in this kingdom. Great works on these subjects were produced under the patronage. Bahmani kingdom was founded by Hasan Gangu, the Turkish governor of Muhammad bin Tughlaq. When he became powerful, he declared himself as an independent ruler, and that time he took the title. Later on, he took the title Alauddin Hasan Bahman Shah. But this kingdom, Bahmani kingdom, was continuously at war with the neighboring states. Bahman Shah, Muhammad Shah II, Firoz Shah, Ahmad Shah and Alauddin II were some of the important rulers of Bahmani kingdom. Muhammad Gawan, he was a Persian. He was a Persian merchant, but later on he became a minister of Alauddin II. At the time of Alauddin II, he became Muhammad Gawan became the minister, an important minister of Bahmani kingdom. Muhammad Gawan organized the army on systematic line and conquered Goa and Kanchipuram. The military power that had been assigned to the Jagirdars by the former rulers were taken away from them and centralized in the hands of the Sultan. He put a check on the powers of the nobles. He introduced a fair system of justice. He took several measures to spread education. He opened a madrasa. See, he opened madrasa, which is in Bidar. Okay. A great patron of art, he was intolerant toward Hindus, who rulers of Bahmani kingdoms. But the Deccan nobles disliked Gawan and they conspired against him. They conspired against Muhammad Gawan. Nobles convinced a ruler to be killed Muhammad Gawan. As a result, he was executed in 1481 AD by the orders of the Sultan. The Bahmani kingdom was divided after the death of Muhammad Gawan. The state started declining. Okay, declining. And the Bahmani kingdom was divided into 5 independent states, namely Berar, Bijapur, Bidar, Ahmednagar and Golconda. Now they became independent states. These kingdoms were at war among themselves and these were later on conquered by Mughals. Now, what were the reasons of declining of Bahmani kingdoms? Reasons of declining of Bahmani kingdom. This question also, many students, they were confused. See, the policy of religious intolerance. First reason, the constant war with neighbors weakened the kingdom. Bahmani rulers, they were busy in war with neighbors. Third one, the pleasure-seeking lifestyle. Do not have money, but they used to live a pleasure lifestyle. That's why it became another reason. The mutual discord among the nobles and the weak successors. The last ruler, he was Sadashiva. Many students from where I don't know, they have written Ram Raya. Okay, in book only it is given. See, the last ruler of this dynasty. Which dynasty? Vijayanagar dynasty was Sadashiva. Lesson number 2, the directive principles of state policy. What is directive principle? Or what is meant by directive principles of state policy? Directive principles of state policies are given in our constitution in article 36 to 51 in part 4th. Okay, these are called directive principles because they are meant to be the directives or instructions, okay, to the government at all levels in India. Development should be there from all sides. Okay, this is the directive principle, the main motive of directive principles of state policy. Now, purpose. The purpose of directive principles of state policy was to solve problems of poverty, illiteracy, backwardness, social discrimination, poor conditions of health and nutrition, which we inherited from the British in 1947. Welfare state is a concept, was a concept of government in which the state or a well-established network or social institutions play a key role in protection and promotion of the economic and social well-being of citizens. Socially and economically, citizens should develop, their conditions should be developed economically and socially. Elementary rights of individuals which are necessary for the development of their facilities. Okay, development of their facilities. They are called fundamental rights. And how many fundamental rights are there? There are 6 fundamental rights which are given by the Constitution for the citizens of India. First one, right to equality. All citizens are equal. They should not be discriminated on the basis of religion, caste, gender or place of birth. Right to freedom, freedom of speech, assemble peacefully. You have noticed our farmers, they are protesting peacefully and that is their right. Constitution has given this right to assemble peacefully and to protest. Okay, that's why no one can deny this. Government cannot deny this. Number 3, right against exploitation. If a right is right against exploitation, traffic in human being, child labor. Okay, so if somebody does this is a right against exploitation. That person is exploiting and this is our right to speak against it. Now 4th one, right to freedom of religion. We can follow any religion of our choice. Number 5, cultural and educational right. We can follow our own culture. Number 6, right to constitutional remedies. The meaning of this, if our any right is violated, we can move to the court. Okay. Directive principles are classified on the basis of these. Okay, economic principles or socialist principles. 1. In this, the state should ensure adequate means of livelihood for all its citizens. All these principles are based on economic and socialist. Okay. B1, Gandhian principle. Okay, these are called Gandhian principle. Social justice shall be given to the people, particularly to the people of weaker section, scheduled castes, scheduled tribes. Okay, and this is the responsibility of state or a government to protect their educational and economic interest. This is one of the principles of Gandhian principle. The main principle of state policy shall be the prohibition of liquor and harmful drugs. Okay, State shall improve the level of nutrition and the standard of living of the people. Every village should have Gram Panchayat. This is also a Gandhian principle, which is included in directive principles of state policy. State shall promote cottage industries. This is also in Gandhian principle. Okay. Now, protection of environment to protect monuments and environment. This is also another principle which is included in directive principles of state policy. Here, while giving this answer, students are confused. Like, mention any 4 directive principles of state policy which promote economic equality. Which promote economic equality. While doing this question, you have to do, see, economic. All these are principles from economic and equality principle. All these principles promote economic equality. Like here, Gandhian principle, any one Gandhian principle. Here, Gandhian principles are given. You have to write one from there. Okay. One more thing. In Constitution of India, in first chapter, when was our constitution enacted and enforced? Difference between two cases. Enacted, it was enacted in 26th November 1949, while it was enforced in 26th January 1950. Okay. That's all for the day, and do well in exam. Best of luck. Thank you. Bye bye.